I just gotta say it, this was by far my favorite episode of this season so far. We had different people losing this time, we got to get reintroduced to the cast, just giving us a fresh look of the game. I'm really excited to talk about everything we saw in episode 4, but before I get started, of course I'm gonna ask if you would please hit that subscribe button. Some of y'all come in and tune into my recaps every single week, but you still haven't hit subscribe yet. So if that's you, please take a moment to hit that button before we begin. So this episode is actually going to kick off with a tribe swap, which of course is going to be great news for Sophie and Alex because this swap is going to kind of give them a fresh start to restart their games. On top of that, we're also going to be dwindling down to a 2-tribe format, which I don't think we've seen in this new era at all. I actually really like the fact that they're giving us 2 tribes, mainly because it makes things easier to follow along with as a viewer. Plus, in my opinion, it just makes the game a little bit more dynamic in general, just having everybody kind of in one spot. Well, technically 2. So here are how the new tribes are going to be broken down. On the new blue tribe, we have Alex, Steven, Kristina, MC, Sophie, Shannon, and Sage. The old Hina tribe definitely has the majority here, and Alex is a lone wolf right now, so right off the bat, it's looking like Sage and Shannon are gonna be in the most trouble in this group. And to make things even worse for these guys, of course, they're going back to the shelter that has nothing. No flint, no food, like literally nothing. I was actually kind of gagged that they sent them there in the first place, as opposed to the Red Tribe's beach, which obviously would just have more stuff. Like, I don't know if this is something that gets decided before the season either kicks off or what, but it just kind of seemed unnecessary to me. I don't know. Over at the Blue Tribe's camp, we see that Alex is doing his best to try to integrate himself and get scooped up as a number. And honestly, since things seem to be like it's really like the old Uli tribe versus the old Hina tribe, Alex should be in a good spot to just kind of slide through the middle. I mean, it's definitely not set in stone that he would be able to sneak all the way through into the merge or anything like that, but he should at least be able to survive one vote, right? I also wanted to give Shannon a big shout out here because she seems to really be doing a good job of integrating herself too. We see her out there really vibing and trying to use her like chill spiritual personality to try to get in good with the old Hina people. And it does seem to be working. I was actually kind of surprised with just how Shannon heavy this whole episode was, especially given the fact that she hasn't really been a main character like that before. So definitely something to just keep an eye on. Now, they are forecasting a little bit of trouble on the horizon between Sage and Shannon. We saw this scene where Sage is kind of sorta accusing Shannon of being a little bit fake. Particularly, she is calling out Shannon for sort of being performative about her religion in order to get closer to people, which honestly, I haven't really seen enough from Shannon to assert whether or not she's like being fake or putting on a show here. But I gotta be honest, it does seem like in this battle, Sage is definitely losing, like really hard. Sage is really someone who has just gotten like this weird, terrible edit all season long. It like hasn't been anything super positive or strategic really. It's mainly like burping jokes and blackhead stories and all this other weird stuff. So we're just gonna have to see where she goes from here. Now let's talk about the Yellow Tribe a little bit. In this group, we have Sophie, Jawan, Savannah, Rizo, Nate, Matt, and Jason. On this tribe, Uli has the majority and Sophie is the lone wolf. So over here, it's looking like Matt and Jason are going to be in the most trouble. Now, over at this camp, we see that Sophie is doing a really good job of integrating with this old Uli tribe. She is coming across as pretty open and offering to be a number for people, just playing a really good social game in general. Sophie has really been like the main character in every single episode this season so far. Granted, she's also been to every single tribal, but still, it's definitely been giving main character energy and it does not seem to be slowing down at all, okay? And as I was saying earlier, Matt and Jason are the ones at the bottom over here since they are really the only 2 left from their old tribe. But we're gonna start to see Matt stand out just a little bit more and get into a little bit of trouble when he talks about how he used to work in banking. Because this was enough to apparently set Savannah off and make her believe that Matt is just like this mastermind now. now or something. Can I just say, I personally don't think that finance career would like intimidate or threaten me at all, because what does that really have to do with Survivor, you know? Like, to me, when you go on these shows, there are certain jobs that you definitely should be lying about, but being a banker or bank manager or whatever he says just isn't one of them to me. In my opinion, the main careers that you should pretty much almost always lie about in these types of games is a lawyer and a cop. People with those jobs almost always lie on these shows. Big Brother, Survivor, it doesn't matter, you name it. Maybe even somebody like a psychologist or therapist or something like that should lie, but other than that, who really cares, you know? The other thing that just really stuck out to me here is just how much the scene seemed to really revolve around Savannah. Like, it's Matt's life story that we're telling here, yet the edit really made a point to point out the fact that Savannah was just this mastermind interviewer for asking Matt this question about his job. I don't know. It's just like the little stuff like that that sticks out to me, because it shows that the edit wants us to know that Savannah's perspective in particular is very important. That's all I'm saying. So now that everyone is acquainted on their new tribes, it is now time for everybody to head off to the next immunity challenge. And this one also happens to be the first reward challenge of the season. So they have this beautiful fruit spread just spread out for the winners. And this is when Jeff decides to ask Sophie what she thinks about the food. Now, I think that he was just expecting her to be grateful and just be thankful about finally getting some calories after days and days of starvation. But no. Instead, Sophie decided to give a response that was just way too real.
This is diet food. This is what I eat when I'm trying to lose weight. I wanted to see a carb or a protein. This is snack food. This is not going to give this is not going to give us that extra that we've been dying.
I just know that was not the reaction that Jeff was expecting at all. But my only question is, was she wrong though? Was she wrong though? Because sometimes these producers do be doing these players dirty with these rewards. Like, do y'all remember the time it was just like plain peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? Or the time it was just like one nasty cold hot dog? Which I totally get. I'm also speaking from a privileged position because I've thankfully never had to be that hungry. But still, like, y'all got money to give these players just a little bit more, you know? Eventually they get to the actual challenge where we see that my girl MC is just beasting through this obstacle course once again. Meanwhile, we see Matt over there just struggling and stumbling a lot, looking like he's costing his team a ton of time. But by far, my favorite part of this whole competition was that stacking portion at the end. I love this, y'all. I loved every single thing about this. I really appreciate the fact that they switched it up from the typical endgame puzzle into something a little bit more unique. And this looked to be like really physically and also mentally challenging. Like watching them try to maneuver and just figure out different ways to stack themselves higher just made for such good TV to me. I loved watching it. I'm sure the players were probably a little bit miserable having to play that way, but hey, what can I say? It was a good one. In the end, MC was able to really pull through and secure a win for her team. And I just wanted to make sure that I gave her a shout out, because it seemed like during this challenge especially, she was really pulling most of the weight, like literally. Now this new yellow tribe is going to be going to tribal, and that's really not good news for Matt and Jason in particular. Matt knows that he's in a bad spot, and I think that it would probably be best for him to just go ahead and throw Jason under the bus here and pitch for Jason to leave instead of him. But nope, instead of all that, Matt decides that he just wants to play this game on hard mode and go after Nate instead. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the enthusiasm and I appreciate the confidence here. I really do. It's just that getting the Ulis to all switch on each other for you at this point in the game is just going to be a very tough sell. But of course, Matt is going to try pitching this to Jawan anyway. And then Jawan is going to immediately turn around and run this all back to Nate and his other tribe mates. So yeah, this plan pretty much seems to just die right there. Meanwhile, Jason is also catching some heat for not really reaching out to game with the others like that. We hear Sophie and Savannah both talk about how they don't really trust Jason like that and how they would rather him be the one to leave instead. So there is a little bit of intrigue as they head off to Tribal, but overall it just feels kind of obvious where this vote is about to go. There's nothing really too crazy that I noticed about this Tribal itself. I mean, there was a moment where Nate does kind of call out Matt, but it doesn't really get too dramatic after that. The votes did kind of end up all over the place, which I wasn't really expecting, but in the end, we see that Matt is indeed voted out. Since the vote was so close, it does really make me wonder if Matt could have possibly saved himself here by again just pitching for Jason to go and leaving Nate's name out of it completely. Because it sounded like Rizo was maybe down to vote out Jason too, but hey, I guess we'll never know now. So that's all we have for this episode, and I gotta say, now that we're a little bit further in the middle of the game, I still do feel really, really good about Savannah and Sophie. They've both just been like the main characters and narrators all season long, and now that these two ladies have like officially linked up, I really don't see either of them going anywhere anytime soon. Still, we haven't seen everybody go to Tribal yet, so I feel like there is not enough information about the other power players, you know, people like MC and Steven, for me to really make that call. On the other hand, Jason and Jawan do still seem to be in pretty bad spots in their tribes, not gonna lie. And over on that other tribe, Sage looks to be in the worst spot over there on that side. So we're just gonna have to see how everything plays out next episode. So of course I wanna know, what do you all think of this episode? How are you feeling about the season so far? And if you have any winner picks, let me know in the comments below. Like I said earlier, this episode was definitely my favorite of the season so far. I definitely think it was the strongest, so hopefully the trajectory just continues from here. And of course, I'll be back right here next week to recap episode 5 with you all. But until that time comes, peace.